Dear friends, it is not unknown for the verse that we have just read to appear chiselled on a tombstone in the Old English form, not dead, but sleepeth. And everyone who has the experience of pausing at a grave, especially of a person well known, will be aware that that was the end of much energy. Full stop. But here, the Church in these last Sundays of the year is inviting us to pause at this tomb and to see the author of life, the author of time, to see where we are going. I picked this up this morning because it hit me that this unites us precisely to those who use musical instruments, like grandfather on both sides on a Sunday when they might have their Sunday best, and the chain just emerging from the pocket of the waistcoat. The time there is conquering. Tempus vincit. It has the last word, Ode Father Time. And no matter how much noise and spectacular effects one might produce in this world, time has the last word. And sometimes one finds almost a twinkle in the eye of the person who chisels things onto tombs. There was the tomb of the superior of a monastery which I knew, actually in England, a lady, and the nuns had concluded her long and energetic life with two words, mulier fortis, a strong woman. But I think you know what that means. And other things too, like the Superior General of the Carthusians, the great Innocent. He was the one who gave them their present form in around the 1600s. And he was a man of great energy. The Louis XIV des Chartreux, they used to call him, the Louis XIV of the Carthusians. And what they put on his tomb, because normally Carthusians don't have a name or a date on their tomb, they are buried just anonymously, as forgotten in death as they are in life. But they put, nevertheless, on his tomb, Nunc cinis et pulvis, now dust and ashes. Full stop. The last noise made. But. This morning, I was puzzling over this question and thinking to myself how precisely a few seconds of this can change all the course of what is on the beyond that we can't see here, but is the only thing that they can see evermore, once that 1 second of crossing the border has gone. Because remember, whether it's just 1 second or 2 million years, it's the past, and it will never come back. And in the case of a person who wakes up to find he hasn't made it, it's an awful thought. If I had 1 more second, I could change all time to come. Now it's just too late by 1 second. And that 1 second is the horrible drama of every soul who realizes too late that it lost eternity. Now, my friends, it's kind of important stuff, because it is quite clear that the enemy of the soul is keen on getting people not to think either about the risk of the beyond not being attained, or about the use of time at all. I'm not going to go into detail, but I want to give you a few examples of the way in which this has been actually given to us from heaven through intervention from on high. Permission, sometimes awfully painful to hear, but nevertheless salutary and for our benefit. Are you sitting comfortably, or rather uncomfortably? Then I shall begin. A 15-year-old boy in Turin was about to die. He called for Don Bosco, but the saint was not able to make it in time. Another priest heard the boy's confession, and the boy died. when Don Bosco returned to Turin, he set out at once to see the boy. When told that the boy was dead, not dead, sleepeth, he insisted that it was just a misunderstanding. After a moment of prayer in the room of the dead child, Don Bosco suddenly cried out, "Charles, rise!" To the utter amazement of all present, the boy stirred, opened his eyes, and sat up. Seeing Don Bosco, his eyes lit up. You know what you mean, don't you? Wait for it. "Father, I should now be in hell. 2 weeks ago, I was with a bad companion." Now you listen to that. Bad friends, they pull us away. You can only be friends with friends of the Lord. Bad companion who led me into sin. Often the first one for a child is, you know what, don't you? Bad language. That's the first one. Bad language. And then you start going a bit further each time. Watch your language. And at my last confession, I was afraid to tell everything. Now, how many confessions are in that situation? Human respect. We don't see the face of Christ in the priest. We're too much affected by human respect. What will he think of me? I was afraid to tell everything. "Oh, I've just come out of a horrible dream. I dreamt I was standing on the edge of a huge furnace surrounded by a horde of devils." Now, let's think of that. Compare your parents, your brothers and sisters, and your real friends, your company, good company, filled with warmth and love and charity, with bad company forever. That's what it's about. Horrible, horrible people only, horrible people around you forever. Just think, ever. No nice word, ever. A horde of devils. They were about to throw me into the flames when a beautiful lady appeared and stopped them. "There's still hope for you, Charles. You have not yet been judged." At that moment, I heard you calling me, O Don Bosco. "What a joy to see you again. Will you please hear my confession?" Now, what happened then? He was given a choice. After hearing the boy's confession, Don Bosco said to the boy, "Charles, now that the gates of heaven lie wide open for you, would you rather go there or stay here with us?" What would be your answer to that? What was his? The boy looked away for a moment, and his eyes grew moist with tears. An expectant hush fell over the room. "Don Bosco, I'd rather go to heaven." The mourners watched in amazement as Charles leaned back on the pillows, closed his eyes, and settled once more into the stillness of death. One more, but this one hasn't got a happy ending. But it's very contemporary, because one can pull the other down. We can be demons one for the other. It was in London, this one, in the winter of 1847 to 1848. There was a wealthy young widow in her late 20s, and she suddenly found herself in a naughty relationship with a young lord. That kind of thing is very common amongst the posh people, it would seem. Late one night, as she was falling asleep, a glimmer of light started to grow and expand at her door. To her astonishment, the door started to slowly open, and there was the young lord. He approached her, grabbed her left wrist, and hissed, "There is a hell!" The pain in her wrist was so great she lost consciousness. When she came to, she had a horrible burn into her wrist down to the bone. The carpet also was scorched where his footsteps had come and gone. The next day she learned that the night before the Lord had been found drunk and had died in his servant's arms. She apparently lived the rest of her life with her charred scar as a reminder. I conclude. Just think. Many, if not the majority, are going through time without a single thought for all that. Ask yourself, what proportion will make it? Thanks.